So the next morning I woke up, I started seeing light coming out of everyone. Like everyone was a beautiful angel. It was white, beautiful, ethereal light. And I was in love with everyone I saw. And I'd never seen that before. It's still around today. It's just not as strong. But if I get really peaceful, it's a lot. Like it was amazing. I was really in love with everyone. I started having psychic dreams. I also started feeling angels around me, which is how I started to do these messages.
Can you do an angel reading right now for everybody that is listening?
Okay, I'm going to try.
Okay.
Let me see what I hear. They're showing me.
So, Rebecca, I've heard so many people talking about this shift or this change that is coming. Have you gotten any messages or intuition or dreams about that?
Yeah. So, okay, I'm glad you're asking that because it's definitely a buzz right now in the spiritual community and near-death community. And I had a really profound dream a couple months ago that seemed like it was about the Great Awakening. I'll share that, and then I'll share some messages I've received about it. The dream was.
This is Beyond with Heather Tesch, where we examine near-death experiences and life itself, hopefully making this life a little better.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to one of my favorite people, Rebecca Kastl. Hello, Rebecca.
Hi, so happy to be back.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you back. You get such amazing messages from angels that I'm so excited for you to share today with my audience. But I also wanted to tell people how we met, because I think we just met in a hallway or something at an IONS conference in Washington, D.C. a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and I remember I remember meeting you because you were so sweet and pretty.
Oh.
and you were starting a podcast, and I was just starting to tell my story, and I remember talking with you, and we connected and you invited me on the show, and it was 2 years ago. You had less than 1,000 subscribers, and it's been so amazing to watch you grow.
Oh,
and at the same time I've been growing, so it was a great connection.
I know, because you have these amazing angel stories, and I kept saying, you've got to put this in a book. You've got to put this in a book.
You did tell me that.
I know, and I'm so glad because you have, and we're going to talk more about that, and it's really going to be something neat for people to have. But I do want to mention too, for anybody listening, if you're going, what's IONS? What are they talking about? IONS is the International Association for Near-Death Studies. And every year they have a conference. And as I mentioned, we met in DC, and then last year we saw each other in Phoenix. And then, Of course, we're both going to be in Chicago again. And Rebecca is going to be on a panel, and you can even have lunch with her. There's a lunch with a speaker event that takes place. So it's pretty cool. There's so much there. If you do want to go, I know Rebecca will want to say hi to you. So will I. Make sure you come say hello. But you can go to ions.org, IANDS.org, and you can get more information. And Rebecca, we'll talk more about the panel you're on toward the end of this conversation.
Awesome.
But I know many people want to hear these angel messages that you have. And let's start out by sharing how this came about, because you had a very traumatic experience when you were 13. And then ultimately that led to a spiritual transformation and some major spiritual things. And thus now being able to hear these messages. So just give us a summary of that. And by the way, for anybody listening, if you want more details, I have done a couple of other episodes with Rebecca, and I'll have links to those in the discussion. But Rebecca, just take it away.
Okay. Thanks, Heather. Awesome. Yeah, I did. I had a trauma at 13, and then that led me to go on a big healing journey. So I'm going to tell a quick version of my story. If you want to hear the longer version, you can listen to that, those other episodes. But at 23, I decided I really wanted to heal all the way. I'd gone to therapy before that. They told me I was fine, and I felt like I wasn't really fine. And so I started kind of really going on this, let me feel my heart. I want to feel what's under my heart. I want to feel like what's underneath there. I want to get whatever's on top of it out, which was like trauma and pain. And I started doing healing. I started writing my journal, Dear God, which led to my experience. So I was journaling one night at 26, and I spontaneously devoted my life to God while I was writing in my journal. I wrote, "Dear God, I have decided to give my life to you and whatever that entails. I want to be guided by you, by the light. This is my pledge. I will work hard to follow this path and bring it to fruition. Please help me do this. Please help me bring light to other people. Thank you. Amen." And I was just crying. I wrote that. I didn't think my life would change. But that night when I was going to bed, a light came over my bed. And it was like a beautiful white light. It could see right into my heart. And I got really scared because I was still hiding a lot of myself. And I told it over and over again in my head. I said, go away, go away. I'm scared, go away. And then I started to feel tingling come through my head. And it felt like a headache, but it was like love and peace. And it got stronger and stronger. And then I relaxed into the feeling, and a voice came into my head that said, "You don't have to be afraid, but if you are, you can wear a hat." And it put a graduation hat into my mind's eye. And I did talk back to the voice. I was like, "That's not a cute hat. Here's some other hat options you could have chosen," because I was only 26. I didn't know what was happening. But, from that night on, for the next 2 years, I had a bunch of spiritual experiences that happened to me that basically aligned me with the level that I just promised in my heart. Background story for my family: I'd been raised interfaith. I was Jewish and Christian in my life before that. So I'd had a bat mitzvah. I'd been baptized. Like, these are things that were in my life already, but this promise was just like a really high level promise I didn't mean to make. So the next morning I woke up, I started seeing light coming out of everyone. Like, everyone was a beautiful angel. It was white, beautiful, ethereal light. And I was in love with everyone I saw. And I'd never seen that before. It's still around today. It's just not as strong. But if I get really peaceful, it's a lot. Like, it was amazing. I was really in love with everyone. I started having psychic dreams. I also started feeling angels around me, which is how I started to do these messages. The angels just felt like loving presences. And it was in response to that promise. Like, God is so big and much bigger than, hi, Kat.
Bubby, of course, is blocking me.
Oh, I don't know if they can see you since I'm talking.
Move on by.
So yeah, God is so big. So I could, just as soon as I made this big promise to this ethereal God being, these angels were around me, and a bunch of other stuff happened. I don't want to take up all the time with it, but it was really, really profound. And it ended with a beautiful dream of an angel telling me that life was amazing, that I needed to go out and have a great life, go have adventures. And we were talking in my room, and I said, "What's your name? When am I going to meet you?" He told me his name was Jonathan. I thought he was going to be my boyfriend one day. I never met him because he was an angel. and then at the end of the dream, he said, "You can meet me when you finish swimming." And then the dream shifted from me talking to him in my room, where it was filled with light and I felt all this love. And then I was just on a ship, a huge ship in the ocean by myself. And I was lowered down from the ship, and I had to start swimming out alone. And it was nighttime in this part of the dream. And then when I woke up the next morning, all the light was gone. I couldn't feel the angels anymore. I felt like everything just stepped back, and I spent a lot of time crying and feeling really confused and alone. I didn't know if I'd made it up. I didn't know, like, I was trying to figure out how to get back to it. And so that led to my angel messages, because for years I was thinking maybe I had, even though I knew it had changed my life so much, I thought, anyway, I was trying to figure out how to reconnect to the angels for a long time. And I started journaling again, which is how my experience started. So I couldn't feel them right next to me as much as I could during those 2 years. But I would start asking questions for myself. What should I do about this relationship? What should I do about my job? Or, my own internal heart state, what I was working on forgiving. And then I would start to feel words come into my mind that felt like the angels that I had known during my experience. And it was the same vibration. People always want to know, how do you know it's angels? I was like, because of my experience and my promise. But it's like that loving, loving, peaceful voice. And it comes in word by word. And I did those for myself for over a decade. I was doing these messages while I was like reconnecting to that light. And then after a little while, I got these messages that I could share for other people. And I started doing those about 2 years ago. And I share them on my Instagram. And now I have a book of 365 angel messages. So
I can't wait to read the book because it's one of those where just every day it's something that picks you up. And I've read your messages and I know how beautiful, I should say, your messages from angels. I know how beautiful they are. And just, they always seem to be right on. You know, when I look at it, I'll be like, oh, that's a message I needed today, which is really pretty cool. It's really a gift. You know, I often think, what a cool thing to walk around in life when, you know, there's so many times when I'm like, oh, what should I do? What should I do? And you've kind of got this access that many of us don't have. I mean, that's a pretty neat thing.
it is, I think we all have it. And for a long time, like I don't walk around. I always say I'm not Lorna Byrne. I don't just see angels all day. I have a normal life and I have like a window where I open the door. I hear messages, especially for other people or when I'm doing writing. But yeah, I think it is helpful because it's really hard to know the right way to go. And it really does help to get quiet and still. And some people write, like I have written a lot to receive messages, but some people just pray or sit in silence and they're able to hear their inner guidance. It really is that still small voice. So what's interesting too, well, I'm so glad first that those messages speak to you. I've heard a lot of people say, like when I post them on social media Monday through Friday, they say, oh my gosh, I was praying about this morning. Thank you so much. And that's how I know, like another way I know that this isn't coming from me. I would never say stuff that this wise, my personality at least. So
And they
yeah.
don't sound like you. When, you know, you sound very different than the
I'm
messages
actually a
do.
little embarrassed to share them because I'm like, I would never say this, but I'm doing it as a service, like for people that need it. That's why I did the book too. That's why I published the book. Um, but yeah, angels don't speak in words. They are they're vibrational, and I can feel their vibration come in when I'm receiving messages and just feel it almost filtering down into words that they can share with me because they don't use words. They use words so we can understand them, but they're really existing in a state of like pure love. And they just kind of, okay, if you need to hear the word, here's what it would be. So yeah.
And do you hear from, I mean, do you have a set group of angels that speak through you, or, you know, do you get different ones every day? Is it random?
No, it's just like a group of angels. Truly, I put my energy as high to love as I can to God and to Christ, and then that's what I feel come through. And so they're just angels of light that came to me in my experience. So it's yeah. I think I do sometimes like actively ask like to speak to Archangel Michael or Raphael because he does a lot of healing, Mary, but it is when they come through, it's more of like a collective and it's just the general voice. And I just know it because of that's what happened to me in my experience too. It was like just a group of angels. I guess it's hard to explain what that felt like. Like, I guess that doesn't happen to everyone, but
No,
it
it
felt like
doesn't.
that. I know. So maybe it will. I kind of hope that it will happen to everyone so I can feel like not as alone sometimes. So
That would be a nice goal for society if we all get to that point.
yeah.
Why don't you go ahead? We're going to do, everybody, just so you know, we're going to do some readings right here that'll be pertinent to all of us because she'll do them live. But why don't you read a couple of your favorites from the book that just came out, which is, by the way, called Daily Moments with Angels?
Yeah, Daily Moments with the Angels, a year of messages for hope and healing, and you can get it on Amazon. It's available.
Yay.
Okay,
I'll
so
put a
here's one.
link.
I just opened to this one and I'm gonna open to another one, and let's just say that it's guided for everyone to hear these. Um, each one of you is an angel. Angel in a sense that you were each formed by God with access to the divine in your hearts. We know this can seem hard to believe when life is full of trials and tribulations. We give you space to experience that. We do not intervene unless called to or in emergency situations. Then we are with you, holding your hand through choppy waters. You must still live your own life that you are put on earth to live. We know it can seem hard, but keep swimming. We're cheering for you, each one of you. The finish line will be glorious. So that's one. Let me see which other one I spin to.
And that seems very pertinent, really, for some of the things that we are discussing about listening.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, here's another one that I think is, let's see. Okay, here's another one. Everything is happening exactly as it's meant to when viewed from divine reality. In the physical realm, it can seem confusing. Ask yourself, how can this be a blessing? Ask to be shown the ways in which your current circumstances are bringing you more into divine alignment. Then continue to use your thoughts and attention to bring more of what you wish to have into your daily life. The universe always says yes to what you shift your energy towards.
That's really great advice, too, because I always say, but I don't live by this, your thoughts create your reality. And it's so easy to get trapped in thoughts that start to bring more negative things to us versus.
I do it all the time.
Yeah,
I
I do.
have a hard time like reining my thoughts in too. So that those kind of messages are helpful. So it goes from like your own internal state to like how to be a human, making, your world make sense. I hope that it's helpful for people. And you can read it every day. There's a message for each day, or you can like flip to a day and like ask a question and see what comes up. It's been really fun to put this together. So, yeah.
I'm so glad you did. It's really a nice gift, too.
It'll be a good gift.
I'm already thinking of friends that I think would really like it. So, yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I want to hear a little bit more about when people come to you as far as having a personal angel reading. And I'll start this out by saying the last time we talked, at the very end, the interview was done. And I said, I'm having some problems with my cat, which, by the way, is Bubby, who most of you that are regular viewers know because he shows up at the end of most of my podcasts. And he showed up earlier here. And I was asking you, I said, I'm having trouble because he's peeing on things. He was being naughty. And you said, well, I see a door and does he want out, or does he want in? And at the time I'm like, I don't think he wants to go outside, because he's an indoor cat. And I said, I don't think that's it. But then later that night, it dawned on me, it was so obvious. I had been locking him out of our bedroom at night because we had a couple of other cats that liked to sleep with us, and I didn't want to irritate them because Bubby was kind of the new kid on the block. And sure enough, when I opened that door, then everything was fine. And it's been fine ever since.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So when you have a reading with somebody else, is it the angels that normally speak to you, or do their own angels come in? How does that work?
Yeah. So basically, that's exactly how sessions go. They're just longer than that. And it is, again, I can't take credit for that. Like, I didn't know that. I felt it through your angels, through source, creator, God. So yeah, when I do a session for someone, they're now called sacred soul sessions. I basically combined all my offerings into one. So it's like a coaching plus a healing / messages that I receive all in one, basically guided by source, by the angels. And I basically put myself into the space of my spiritual experience at the beginning of each session. We do a light visualization where we bring light through our bodies, and then I invite in your angels and guides, and I hear messages, and I don't believe it. I was raised, I talked about my interfaith background, but I was mostly skeptical. And honestly, doing sessions like this helps me be less of a skeptic, but like every day, because I didn't know that about the door, and that came from God, from the creator. I like to use whatever word people are comfortable with, but it was, it's amazing. So I always say, like, source is perfect. The energy, the love is perfect. So as much as I'm able to tune in with that, I'm able to hear messages correctly. So I just get myself really relaxed, and I start to hear different things that come through. And a lot of it is about people's childhood, or they need healing about fear that they're dealing with. And it's stuff that I would never know. I mean, I've shocked myself in readings. Like I literally, every time I start, I'm amazed, I'm astounded. And it's a gift, it's a service. I don't take any credit. I mean, my name is on my website, but this is really, I clear my own personality out enough to be able to do this for people. So
You are a very down to earth person. So I'm sure at first it was really awkward for you, to start sharing these kinds of messages.
yes. Yeah. And I do get embarrassed if my regular friends find my stuff, but now I'm just like, I've had to really let go of my ego and say, this is a service. This is for other people and for my higher self. And the promise I made in my journal, that was my promise. I wanted to live by the light and help other people live by the light. So, yeah, yeah, it's been interesting, but it's also, as much as it was hard, it's also helpful for people. I mean, people really need different things like this, and there's so many great people out there, but if I can help one person move from a place of sadness and darkness like I used to be in before I had my experience and started healing, like I'm so thankful to bring others to that place through these kind of messages and healing. So it's a real honor.
There are a lot of closeted people that are very spiritual. I mean, I worked for the majority of my career, decades, as a meteorologist, scientist,
Yeah.
and you know, I always had this in me, and those closest to me knew I was really fascinated by near-death experiences and spiritual things, but it wasn't something I ever went around sharing. But it is fun to kind of come out of the closet and to be able to live this new, very fulfilling life.
You're so right. What's the funnest part is that we get to meet each other. I've met so many cool
Yes.
people, and I do have sessions with people that book and say, no one knows this about me. No one knows I'm interested. No one knows I've had these spiritual experiences. They're scientists, they're professors, they're police officers. Like such a real honor because I'm holding space for regular people who have had, you know, people are starting to awaken, I think. So it's really neat to get to see that side of things that people, everyone else in their lives doesn't know that about them. So,
And that is the cool thing about IANS. We talked about that earlier, but there are so many like minded people that you're kind of like, I go there and I'm like, oh my gosh, these are my people. And
yeah.
it feels so great. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. It really, man, it was that first conference. I was just in awe because it had been so private for me. I'd never done anything, I'd just been internally having my experience and reading near death experiences. I didn't even know there was near death experience YouTube, like when I went to IANS for the first time in 2023. So it was like astounding to get to meet so many people that were doing this kind of thing. Yeah.
And I intentionally, the first couple of years I went, actually the first 3 years I went by myself because I want to go there to meet people. And it really forced me to get
Yeah.
out of that comfort zone. If you go with a friend, which is awesome, but then, you have to make sure it's just not the two of you doing stuff. You really need to branch out because
Yeah.
that's the
That's
fun part
true.
about.
Yeah.
So, can you do an angel reading right now for everybody that is listening?
Okay. I'm going to try. Let me see
Okay.
what I hear.
Okay.
They're showing me, this isn't a message I get a lot, but they're showing me each person is capable of connecting to this kind of wisdom and guidance through their hearts. It's a muscle that you build through trust and relaxation. And there's a perfect path for you to develop this. Keep reaching out, keep calling out to us, keep praying. And then after you set the prayer out, relax and hear your message. Let us relax and let our messages come through. The mind will tell you this isn't real. The mind will question. That's natural and normal. The more you learn to quiet the mind and center in your heart, the more you'll be able to trust the wisdom and guidance you're given from us. You've never been alone. You've always been completely held. Allow yourself to know that by connecting with us, connecting with God, and letting us hold your hand through your daily life. Bring us your questions. We'll answer them in the way that makes sense to you. You may see a butterfly. You may receive words. Each one of you has a specific way that's easiest for us to communicate to you, and we'll communicate with you that way. but you still do need to live your regular life. We'll bring you guidance to help you get on the path that's best for you. Call out to us in your pain and your sorrow. You've never had to do this alone. I think that's it.
Very nice. Very
Yeah.
nice to know.
Never would have believed that ever. Like, I definitely didn't think that was a thing, that God and angels were around us, but they are. So
You say, or they just told you,
yeah.
you never have to do this alone.
Mm-hmm.
You also said earlier, that we need to ask for help. So are they always around us? And we just, because my message is just really generic. Like, you got the go ahead anytime you can come and help me. Is that good enough?
I think that's good enough. If that's what you feel, yes, like open the door for them helping you. I've been told and I've experienced they can't come into our lives like unless we ask them. I mean, they're always around us, but they don't mess with our free will. So I was starting to heal, and then I made this ginormous promise in my journal, and then suddenly these angels were around me. Y'all can make the promise too if you want. But yeah, but then when I was not sure if my experience was real, I didn't reach out to them as much until a few years later when I started journaling. But the times when I wasn't reaching out, I wasn't getting as much help, except for one time when I was saved from carbon monoxide poisoning by angels. And I was less than a minute from death when I finally made it to the hospital. But so they will intervene if it's life or death.
Okay, I want to hear that one.
Okay. I didn't tell it before because I didn't realize, like, until I started telling my story, I put everything together and I was like, oh, yes, that was angelic intervention. So my experience had ended in 2008. I didn't start talking about it until 2023. But so for the first few years after my experience ended, I went and lived in a cabin in the woods for a little while, like a couple of years, because I was honestly trying to figure out how to get back to my experience. I was also very confused about, was it real or not? And in this cabin, there was a heater that wasn't hooked up to the right type of gas for the heater. And I turned it on one night but honestly, a few days before this happened, I had a dream that I got carbon monoxide poisoning. I didn't know that it was carbon monoxide poisoning, but I started having these psychic dreams in my experience. And a lot of times I would have dreams that were going to come true, especially if they were about difficult things or something hard that was going to happen. But I would never really know when it was going to happen. So a few days before I got carbon monoxide poisoning, I had a dream that I was standing in the bathroom of my cabin and looking in the mirror, and my lungs were bright red, and I was just looking at my lungs bright red, and then I had to move out of my house. And that, I don't know what that means. And then a couple of days later, I'm sleeping and I had the heater on, and my alarm goes off because I was waking up really early to practice yoga. I was working at a school, and I felt myself get pushed out of my bed. It was like some really strong hands pushed me, and I started running. And I've never woken up running in my life. I just was pushed by these hands. I started running, and as I ran, with my bedroom and then the living room and then the bathroom. So I ran from my bedroom through the living room where the heater was. I turned off the heater for some reason and made it to the bathroom where I started falling. I couldn't stand up because I had no oxygen in my blood and my muscles, and I would try to stand up, and I actually have a scar on my chin from where I hit the bathroom counter, and I just kept falling, and then I laid on the ground because I couldn't move my body at all. I think I tried to stand up once. It was wild because I ran into the bathroom and then I fell. That strength that got me running was not from me. That was definitely from angels, because I think when they pushed me, it gave me the strength. And I think they must have whispered, wake up, run, turn off the heater. Because when I made it, I looked back on that. I'm like, yeah, I started telling my friends, I got carbon monoxide poisoning and I lived. But when I made it to the hospital, they said that I was less than a minute from death. And that was 30 minutes after I made it to the hospital, because they took my blood oxygen and they were less than a minute from death. But I should have been dead. So that's those divine interventions that I was not reaching out to my angels every day at that point. But, they definitely kept me alive because it wasn't my time to go.
It's so interesting. I haven't shared very often, but I had what could have been a horrible car accident one time. And I felt like I was saved by an angel, because when it was done and the car really was fine, and but it
Wow.
was, I mean, I literally did probably a 270-degree turn on this major interstate going through Washington, D.C. in rush hour traffic. And,
Oh my
you
gosh.
know, and I never had all the other cars around me stopped. It was just kind of miraculous. But I remember afterward just feeling very euphoric. And to me, that was a sign that there was angelic help around me. It was just like my
Wow.
husband's like freaking out because I wasn't driving. And he's like, whoa, what's going on? And I'm just like feeling great afterward.
It's
I'm sure he thought it was
amazing.
crazy. Yeah.
I have goosebumps. I definitely think that was angelic intervention because
Yeah.
I mean the physical world like is not as real to them as it is to us, and they're able to manipulate things and see things and probably helped your car be in the right exact spot. Who knows? But
Exactly.
I'm glad that you're okay. I'm glad you're alive.
Yeah.
As we know from people who've had near death experiences, we have a time when we're meant to go, and if our work
Yeah.
isn't done on the earth, we don't go, and they make sure that we don't.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but like for that other little stuff, you do have to ask for help. I found
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
me. I think they'll help us. Like that's my friends that have had like angelic intervention. It's usually life or death situations,
Mm-hmm.
and then for other regular stuff like getting answers to questions, we kind of have to develop the dialogue.
That
So,
makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
wow.
So, Rebecca, I've heard so many people talking about this shift or this change that is coming. Have you gotten any messages or intuition or dreams about that?
Yeah. So, okay, I'm glad you're asking that because it's definitely a buzz right now in the spiritual
Mm.
community and near death community. And I had a really profound dream a couple months ago that seemed like it was about the Great Awakening. I'll share that, and then I'll share some messages I've received about it. The dream was humanity is at a crosswalk, and there's a crosswalk going across this road, and at the end of the street, at the end of the crosswalk is a beautiful palace. It's crystal palace filled with rainbow light, and I could see it at the end of the crosswalk, but each part of the crosswalk in my dream I could look into, and it became like a 3D holographic image that I could see. The first unpainted space of the crosswalk. So, it's like unpainted and then white painted space. So, the unpainted space, I could look inside and I saw economic changes and I saw the stock market dropping. And this was like, I think this was the time when our stock market was dropping a few months ago. And I saw it drop. I saw it drop again. And then I saw in the white painted space, the best action humanity could take to move past the difficulty. And I saw all of these humans coming together across the whole planet, across differences, and helping each other. Almost like I just saw everyone holding hands, like an overlay on the earth. Not everyone was going to do that, it seemed like, but I saw most people would, or the people that I knew would. And and it felt really like hopeful because these events were scary and I was worried, and then the next space was, oh, okay, we just need to get along and help each other. Okay, next space. So then there was two more events in the unpainted spaces, and in the dream I remember I entered into this like 3D image. I'm staring at the earth. It's like I could see the whole globe, and I was seeing these events. And in the dream, I'm like, I will remember these intense events because they were intense. And then of course I woke up. I don't remember them, and I think I was not meant to, because even discussing things like war and strife, it brings up so much fear that I think I saw these other two world events, but in each white painted space, it was humanity coming together. We could deal with whatever is thrown our way when we love each other and help each other. And so I went on the whole crosswalk looking at these other two events, and everyone coming together after them. And then at the end, I went into the Crystal Palace. I was filled with this beautiful light. And then I came back out and like went back to the crosswalk with us and was walking through with everyone. So that was very interesting because I woke up, it felt very real. So I can always tell if it's a dream from source, if it's like full of light. And this was really, it's almost like a spotlight is behind it, and it feels much more deep and real than regular dreams. And it was interesting because you hear these other people talking about solar flash and rainbow light, and so that was like in my dream, and it didn't seem like it was something I was just, relating to what I'd already heard, because it just felt very real. So, but it was also really hopeful because every time, whatever difficulty we had, coming together and loving each other was like was the solution. So I hope we can do that.
So just to clarify, you did feel like there was going to be a solar flash, or you thought that was just something you'd heard other people say that you
I
would?
did because, it was like a crystal palace filled with rainbow light that I got
Okay.
filled with. That's at the end of the crosswalk. That's like after we go through certain
Okay.
events. I don't know how many it'll be. In my dream, I saw 3 big ones. But it might
Did
be.
that include the stock market?
That was the stock market was the first one. The other 2 seemed like really big, like wars or something, but I can already tell they don't even want me to talk about it. They want us to
Okay.
focus on
I
loving
know.
each other, helping each other, being kind, forgiving. And then at the end, it seems like that's where we're all heading. It was like all of humanity was on this crosswalk together. And at the end was this beautiful rainbow light palace. So what does that mean? Is that the awakening? Is that a solar flash? Is it all of it? So
And so did you have an inkling, and I know they don't want you to talk about this too much, so we'll talk about it really quick. Did you have an inkling that you said the stock market, when it went down before, was that it, or is there more of that coming?
I was trying to figure that out because in the dream it dropped once and then it dropped again.
Okay.
And I know at that time it did drop, and then a couple days later it dropped again. So
Okay.
I'm very interested. I'm very curious. I don't have a ton of stocks, but I know some people do. And I know it affects our economy. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Heather, I keep wondering, I keep looking like, is it going to drop again? Like in my dream? Most of my dreams that I've had that are precognitive or come true are just about my own life or about my friends. So to have a dream like this was a real gift, because I'd been talking in my talks like all like the last few months before this dream. I only have boring psychic dreams. Don't ask me about disasters. Don't ask, And then I had this big dream. I was like, oh, okay, maybe like I brought that in, but I'll let you know if I have any other interesting dreams like that. But I don't know. Honestly, to go into like the next part of this, like what else I've heard about the awakening lately, it's really been don't externalize it. So it's exciting to look at what's going to happen in our world. We all want to know, but it really is for each of us an internal process of doing our healing work, of, forgiving and centering our hearts in that love. And that's where the awakening happens, like one by one, each of us. That's the big message I've been getting lately.
When you saw everybody coming together, did you feel like that was after all 3 events?
No, it was after each event. So each
After
event
each
was,
one,
yeah.
okay.
So there was like the, the unpainted space of the event, and then the white painted space after each event. Each time was we could deal with each event by coming together, by helping each other. And it was just it was the feeling. These kind of dreams are really more almost downloads, because it was like I could see what it felt like when all of humanity, or like the people that were going to come together, came together, and how much love there was in us, and how much connection and seeing beyond differences there was. It was a really beautiful feeling. So just the word, trying to say the words, it doesn't quite get it across as much as the feeling of what it's like to see all of us together.
And when I look at my audience and I look at the people that are at IONS, and there are a lot of people where you can see, okay, we can all come together, but it also is very challenging to see that happening when you see so many other polarized things in the world. And sometimes it's really hard to believe that we'll be able to get united. And unfortunately, it often takes something tragic to unite people.
I know. I'm with you, because we do live in a beautiful bubble of love with our near death experience friends. And
Yes, yes.
I think honestly, in the dream, not everybody chose this path. I was able to mostly focus on that because that's the world I live in. But there were people, it's almost like I could see the people that were going to come together were an overlay over the earth. And there were a bunch of other people that wouldn't choose that underneath. But it's almost like it didn't affect those who wanted to come together and work together. But yeah, of course, I want everyone to get along. And I know when someone's acting in pain and hurting others, it really is that because they're in pain. And, there's that saying, all attack is a cry for help. And I totally believe that. But it's not our job. Like, I can't make someone decide to be loving. We can model loving selves and then maybe help. I think all of us aligning with their loving hearts, anyone who's listening, will help reach those others who really need it. But people go through a lot of pain. I went through a lot of pain, and before I started healing, I was very unawake. I was really sad. And and I know I was hurting people, not at a big level, but I was hurting my boyfriends and my friends, so, and now, and so I can relate to that. It can go pretty far. So I can kind of see, but we can just hope that they can awaken too to love in their own hearts. It's there for everyone. It's just waiting.
You did recently have an angel message that was, trust the world is not ending. And so, of course, when I hear that, it makes me go, okay, well, it's going to seem like the world is ending. So what was the message there that they were saying?
Yeah, so every Sunday I tune in and I get messages from my angels. And this, a lot of people are having a buzz and, nervousness, and it was really just, the world is transitioning, the world is changing, and it's going to seem like parts of it are ending, like when you're giving birth or when you're going through something, it seems like you're not going to make it through, and then you do, and it's a whole new world. And that's kind of that was the message. And it was also that we're not really going to understand it until we look back on it, because it's hard to really understand, and we really are going to be able to navigate it through opening our hearts and living in love. But trying to make sense of it mentally, it's not going to look like it's making much sense. So that was the message, as much as I remember it. But you can go and watch it on my YouTube. So
yeah, you're on YouTube and also on Instagram, where you share beautiful messages. Now, when you share these messages, have you noticed reoccurring things, things that you often hear your angels say?
One of the biggest ones is like what came through today for your audience was that everyone can do this. They always say, you're not alone. We're always with you. Please talk to us. So those are very often recurring themes. A lot of times they do talk about creating the life of your dreams. So like how you can help create a life that you love. And hope. Sometimes I just get so many messages. I'm like, how many different ways can they talk about having hope? But it's another message about hope. So that's, they're just all so beautiful, and I really couldn't make them up. And when I do tune in to receive them, I always relax and make sure, and I'm like, oh, and I just hear the frequency that's just different than my own thoughts every time, and it's amazing. So it's a real gift. It's a gift that I'm able to share it. It's an honor, honestly. So
I heard you recently on our friend Pooja's Beyond Belief podcast.
Yeah.
She's a beautiful soul too. And you were discussing fearing that there are a lot of people out there that fear that these are false messages that you were getting. And I loved your answer, because you didn't grow up with the fear that a lot of us had kind of drummed into us about that kind of thing.
That's a good question. And that is I have never even thought about it, because I had a horrible trauma. I had these nightmares about what I call demons. And then I had this beautiful spiritual experience with God. And now I hear the angels. But yeah, I'll have people ask me how I know I'm talking to angels and how would I know it's not a demon. I'm like, well, I mean, a lot of it is listen to my story, but it is just that frequency of love, and it feels like love. But yeah, no, I didn't have a fear of that, and I think that did help me get to a place of having a beautiful spiritual awakening, because it was really just about opening my heart to God and to the Creator. But yeah, I'm thankful I didn't have that fear. My main thing was that none of this was real and I'm crazy. so I think we all have different things.
Yeah, right. What I've heard other guests say regarding this, and this makes so much sense, it's the fruits that you produce. Because if this is, a devilish thing, you're not going to have all this beautiful fruit that you're producing, and yet you are spreading so much love and kindness, and you're helping so many people through their own trauma or their own challenges or their own questions. So that is one way that you can look at seeing how this is very genuine and angelic, what you're receiving.
Oh, Yeah, thank you. I love that. Yeah, the fruits and the love. It really does come back to love. So as much as, and that's the same message again, like as much as we can think different thoughts about what's happening, or we have different belief systems, it really does come back to what's in your heart and what is your own experience. And my own experience was love. And even though my belief system was like, this is crazy, or like someone else's might be like, this might, who knows where this is coming from. What is it? Does it feel like love? Do you feel more joyful? Do you feel more connected to yourself? That is really, I think, the barometer of where we're all needing to get to either awaken or have our own spiritual experiences, is really to know what's going on with you and your heart, like beyond what you think and beyond what other people think about you, like what's actually going on internally for you. That's how I had my spiritual experience. So, yeah.
Can you give me a message or a message for this podcast?
Oh, for your podcast.
Yeah.
Okay. And for you?
Or for me, either one.
They're showing me, they're saying, Heather, you're doing a great job. Continue. It's almost like they're showing me you have a coat over you, and they're just like, keep taking off the layers of your personality and let the true love of your true self shine through. Who you are is beautiful, and the work you're doing is beautiful. You never have to doubt that. And they're showing me they can see all the people that you uplift through this work, and it helps them get on their own paths, even if they've never reached out to you ever. They're showing me each person that you've helped awaken. It's a real service, but staying humble helps you keep doing it in a really beautiful way. And that's why they love working with you and through you, because it's never about you, even though you use your name. It's about the gift and the service of love. And they're just saying, like, be open to what comes next. I don't know what that means. Let's see.
We shall see.
Yeah, we'll see. And they're not making it personal. I mean, I can see the door to like more personal messages for you, but I'm not going to, we can talk about that off the air.
That sounds good. That sounds good. But that does make sense, because it took a few years for me to decide to do this, because like I said, this was not my public persona that was out there. And so and I didn't want to offend anybody, because this isn't everybody's thing. Right. And so, yes, it did take me a while. So yeah, I do have to continue to be brave to kind of open myself up to all of this. So that resonated very much. So thank you.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. Yeah, you're doing amazing.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. So I'm very excited about your book, Daily Moments with the Angels. And I really do think it's going to be a beautiful gift. It reminds me of the book. Have you heard of Jesus Calling?
I love Jesus Calling.
That's what it reminds me of.
Well, thank you. And she has an intro of how she received her messages. It's like the same way, but she does it for Jesus. And since I'm from an interfaith family, I like to do it for everyone. So, but it's thank you. I'm honored, because her messages are really beautiful. So.
As are the messages that you receive. They truly are. And I'm excited for more people to just get a chance to read them, because I think they're going to be very uplifting and informative for people. So very exciting for that. And then, of course, we talked about IONS earlier. Now you're going to be on a panel at IONS, and this is a trauma panel that you're going to be on, but I assume it also relates to spirituality, as everything does at IONS.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So my panel's on Saturday afternoon of the IONS conference, which is Labor Day weekend. And I, normally my submissions for the conference had to do with my spiritual experience. And I thought, let me explore this other side of it this time, like the trauma that I went through and healing from it, and how it led to a spiritual awakening, because so many of us deal with these traumatic events in our lives. We've gone through hard things. And so, yeah, I'm going to be on a panel with 2 other near-death experiencers, and then me, spiritually transformative experiencer, just sharing about our traumas and how we were healed, like so healed through our awakenings or our near-death experiences. And so that's it. So it's really a hopeful panel, even though I think off book it's called the trauma panel, but it's like the trauma heal. Oh, I wish I could remember the exact name, but it's like how we healed trauma through our awakening, and from shattered to shining, I think. Sorry, I can't remember correctly. It's been a long week with my book.
People are just going to have to go to. You're just going to have to come.
Yeah, and it's really beautiful. The other panelists are amazing, and it's about how spiritual awakening and near-death experiences, connecting with God and light and love, like, can really heal you. Like, I never thought it could be healed to this level, but that's what the panel's about, and it's going to be really fun. And then I'll also be doing lunch with a speaker on Thursday. If you come for the whole conference, you can have lunch with me, and I will hang out with you for an hour while we have lunch. So
That's really awesome. That's the thing about the IONS conference too. I mean, there are, of course, the big keynote speakers. Excuse me. I believe this year it's Raymond Moody, let's see, Bruce Grayson, Carolyn Miss, Diane Hennessy Powell, and Mark Anthony. So there are the big names, but there are so many of these other panels or people giving talks and sharing their experience. And there really is a variety. I mean, you were talking about being on a trauma panel. And of course, it all relates to spirituality or near-death experiences or spiritually transformative experiences. So it is really interesting. You mentioned it's Labor Day weekend. So it's August 27th through the 31st, and it's in Chicago. I know I mentioned this earlier, but I'm a big fan of it, and that's why I want to mention it as we come up to it. But it's IANDS.org, IANDS.org, the International Association for Near-Death Studies. And of course, we'll both be there, and we hope to meet a lot of you if you do partake in that.
Yeah.
So that's a wonderful thing. You also, of course, if people want to connect with you, you have a website as well.
Yes, I have a website, RebeccaKastl.com. It's just my whole name. And I do all kinds of, I have stuff on social media under Rebecca Kastl. Come find me. You can book with me. You can have a sacred soul session with me if you want to have a full experience just for you. That'd be great. Yeah. When I first started sharing at IANS in 2023, I wasn't doing any of this. And then now I'm like, okay, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Instagram, like, come find me. Because it's like, I'm just trying to do what I promised.
So Rebecca, do you have any parting words for us as we wrap things up? Or maybe a message from angels again?
I'm like, oh, do you want it from me? Like, half the time when I talk with my friends, they're like, what should I do? And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to tell you from my personality. I'm not tuning in right now. So, but I guess I would just say, y'all are beautiful. Come see me. And you can do this too. It really just takes the intention and really wanting to feel your heart and get in touch with the creator. I would love to have more friends on this journey with me. So come join me.
Beautiful messages. And again, it's always such a pleasure to talk with you, Rebecca. And I'm so excited to see you once again at the IANS conference. It's always such a fun time. And I love hanging out with you and all the other amazing people.
It's so fun. We're going to have a blast. Yeah. I can't wait to see you. Thanks, Heather.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Your podcast is my favorite. I mean, I love everyone's podcast, but I really love your podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And thank you. And again, I'm sure your book is going to become one of my favorites too. So I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, Rebecca. I look forward to seeing you. You have a wonderful day.
Bye, y'all. Have a good day.
Bubby, sit. Can you sit? Good boy. I hope all of you enjoyed Rebecca as much as I did. I love talking to her. She really is a kind and genuine person and just a lot of fun. Funny. She's really a delight to talk to. And I love her messages that she shares. They really are beautiful. And I'd love to know your thoughts on the messages that she shared today. Did any of them hit home with you? How about when she talked about 2 potential future things? And that was a dream that she had. And she said sometimes she has these dreams that come through and she can tell they're more angelic or I guess spiritual compared to her other dreams. And it was interesting that she had that message. There are a lot of things that we talked about. And so I'd love to know your thoughts on anything that stood out to you or what you really connected with. Please put those in the comments. I will try to get back to as many of you as I can. Thank you too for a like. If you haven't liked it yet, I'd really appreciate that. And share with a friend. I thought it was really a great conversation, and I hope you did as well. So share it with someone who may like it. I will have links in the description to Rebecca's other episodes that she did with me. We did 2 others, and there she goes a little bit more in depth on her experience. And of course, we talk about other things as well. So I'll have links to that. I will as well have links to her website, just how to connect with her, her book, which I know is going to be incredible because I've just read her messages before. So I'm really looking forward to looking at that myself. So I'll have a link to that. It's a brand new book. It just came out. So that'll be there. Let's see what else. Oh, I'll put a link in there for IONS. We talked about IONS. It's such a fun conference. If any of you are, just thinking about it, look at the website, IANDS.org, the International Association for Near-Death Studies. I really enjoyed it. I love connecting with so many like-minded people. If you do decide to come, make sure you say hello. But I will have that link in the description as well. And again, click on the word more. That opens up the description. You'll also find a link there to all of my past episodes while you wait for the next one. Check out one of my guests that I've already had on. There are over 200 and some episodes there, and really they're all terrific. And you will learn something from each and every guest that I have on. I also have some really exciting guests coming up, people that I think you are really going to enjoy hearing. So I'm very excited about that. Make sure to come looking for me. I do have new episodes that come out once a week. And right now I'm dropping them on Thursdays. They may not show up in your feed, but you can always find them if you go to Beyond with Heather Tesch. And that's where all of my episodes are. And then, of course, I always have that link in the description, and that'll take you there as well. Thank you to all of you that do support me by coming back week after week. And for all of your likes, for all of your comments, it means a lot to me. You are just wonderful, and you've been so fabulous in supporting me through this journey that we are taking together. So thank you, everybody, for being here today. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you in the next episode.
Thanks for joining me on Beyond with Heather Tesch. Please add comments and questions you'd like future guests to answer. Also, if you liked what you heard, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. That'll help keep this podcast going. You can also go to Beyond with Heather Tesch to look for more episodes.